All right, let's talk about Pi Network. To really get what's happening with it, you have to see it for what it is. This isn't just another crypto coin or some simple app on your phone. No, it's a massive, complicated experiment, part social, part tech, and it is staring down its most critical moment right now.
This line right here pretty much says it all. It really sets the stage for what we're about to get into. And look, we're not here to hype it up or to spread fear. For this explainer, we're just going to lay it all out. The tech, the real-world uses or lack thereof, the major crises it's faced, and what could possibly happen next.
So, to really understand Pi, you got to start with its engine, right? We're going to pop the hood and look at the core technology to see how it was supposed to be different and, whether that design actually holds up when things get tough. What's it actually built on?
Okay, so at its heart, Pi runs on something called the Stellar Consensus Protocol, or SCP. Now, what's so interesting here is that it's a totally different beast from Bitcoin. It doesn't use those crazy, power-hungry mining rigs, the giant computer farms solving puzzles. Instead, the whole network is secured by trust circles that you, the users, actually build. Yeah, when you put them side by side, the difference is just night and day. On one side, you have Pi's method, which is designed to be smart, super fast, and really cheap for transactions. By 2025, it was already showing it could handle millions of them. And on the other side, you've got Bitcoin, which we all know is slow, expensive, and uses a ton of energy. But, and this is a huge but, here's the question that has been hanging over this project forever. For all its clever design, is the network actually decentralized? See, the problem is the number of computers that validate all the transactions, the nodes, is still pretty small and kind of centralized. And that has opened the door to some serious questions about who's really in control here.
Having clever tech is one thing, but let's be real. Can you actually use it for anything? That question of usability brings us to our next big topic, the ecosystem.
So, a huge shift happened in late 2025. Pi Network rolled out its most important update ever, Protocol V23. This thing was a game changer. For the very first time, it flipped a switch on smart contracts. That opened the floodgates for things like DeFi, decentralized finance. It allowed people to create NFTs, and it just massively ramped up how fast the network could process everything. Basically, this update turned Pi from what was mostly a mining app into a full-blown programmable blockchain. But this leads to the real question, right? Is powerful tech by itself ever enough? The market always wants more. And this is where we see people trying to build that real value. A project called Gargora Digital Bank popped up, trying to connect Pi to the actual world of payments and finance, and, really important, dealing with regulations. At the same time, a hackathon in 2025 pumped out over 200 different apps for local shopping, for gaming, you name it. The goal was clear: create genuine demand, not just a bunch of speculative hype. But just as things seemed to be building up, the entire story was about to take a really dark and dramatic turn. After years of quiet development, all the project's biggest problems came together in a kind of perfect storm, a period we can only call the crisis. The biggest headache for, over 60 million users, it was the user verification system, KYC, which was, frankly, a disaster. They brought in a new AI system to speed it up, but then they dropped this brutal new rule. You had 6 months. 6 months to verify who you are and move your coins, or you would lose them. Forever. That created a genuine wave of panic in the community. And the scale of this problem was just insane. We're talking over 620 million Pi coins that were just stuck. They weren't in people's wallets, the anxiety was off the charts, and it was in this climate of fear and frustration that the whole thing just exploded. And then, boom. In 2025, a crypto investigator who goes by Atlas dropped a bombshell report. It accused the project of insiders dumping coins, manipulating the market, and claimed that just 7 wallets controlled almost everything. The report's conclusion was brutal, calling Pi the biggest rug pull in 2025, which is basically saying it's a scam where the founders just take the money and run. And the fallout was immediate. It was like watching dominoes fall. The report drops in October. By November, the price completely collapses. And by December, huge exchanges like OKX and BitCat just stopped letting people withdraw Pi. It made everyone wonder if there was ever any real money there to begin with. So, wow. After a hit like that, you have to ask, where does a project even go from here? And that brings us to our final section, trying to figure out the verdict on Pi Network's future. And as you're about to see, it is not simple at all. Right now, the community is completely split down the middle.
On one side, you've got people who are just so frustrated. They feel betrayed by all the technical problems and the whole crisis. Then, on the other side, you have the true believers. A lot of these folks are new to crypto. They've been tapping that button for years, and they're holding on to that original dream.
And believe it or not, the next big test for the network is literally right around the corner. In January 2026, a massive wave of locked coins, 134 million of them, are set to be released into the market.
So what's it gonna be? This is the billion-dollar question for the network's survival. Is this flood of new coins gonna create so much selling pressure that the price just collapses for good? Or could it actually create some healthy, badly needed liquidity for the ecosystem to use? Maybe a bit of both. It's anyone's guess.
Now, the project has this supposed roadmap for 2026. It talks about getting listed on major exchanges, growing the DeFi world, letting the community govern things. But, and this is really important, after everything that happened in 2025, you have to take all of this with a huge grain of salt. Nothing is a sure thing.
So let's just break it down. What's the bottom line? Based on everything we've seen, Pi Network is not a confirmed scam. But it is absolutely not a guaranteed success either. The best way to describe it is as a gigantic experiment. It's got real tech, a huge community, but it also has very, very real problems it has to solve if it wants to survive.
Ultimately, 2026 is going to be its make-or-break year. Will Pi pull itself out of this crisis and actually become a currency that people use every day? Or is it just going to fade away and become another one of those huge crypto stories that ended not with a bang, but with a quiet whimper? The stakes are incredibly high.